the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
AVWeek is produced and distributed through a partnership with AVNation and Rave Publications. For more information, go to ravepubs.com/AVNation. This is AVWeek, episode 39, recorded Friday, April 27th, 2012. Technical difficulties.
Ready.
AVWeek.
Performing scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AVWeek. It is time for AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tim Albright, your host. With us this week is a motley crew. I thought about calling you guys the Three Amigos. So
I was thinking more like the Shiners. We all got pretty shiny heads.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
the aesthetically pleasing cranial shape.
A 3-pack of Mr. Clean. I have a 3-pack of Mr. Clean. So first up.
My brain hurts. I'm trying to think of what the acronym for that was there.
Yeah, I know.
You go ahead and think of that. As long as it's clean, you
That's
can
like
keep
doing
you
high
can say
math.
it.
Wait, square the radius, module the remainder. Wait, what?
That's why we have graphing calculators. Kevin Iselli, he's our token Crestron guy.
Wow.
He's I should have said our token manufacturer for the week. He works for Crestron. He is their DM guy. If you get trained in DM in any way, shape, or form, most likely you're going to have him. He's also a part-time stand-up comedian. So when you're at the DM training, please tip him well. How are you, sir?
Not too far. I fall over.
Yes, not too far. He might fall over. Good Lord. How are you?
I'm great, and the veal is fabulous.
That's fabulous. Tip your yeah. The Shecky Green graduate over there is George Tucker. He is from World Stage, as our engineering coordinator, and he's also a fabulous producer for this very network. How are you, sir? George, did you already drop off? He did. Lord. All right, we'll get George back up, and then we'll talk to him in a second. But the other guy on the other side of the country is Mr. Rich Fregosa. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Rounding out the Chico and the Man comedy section from the West Coast, right? Bringing my brown flavor.
Well, I liked Chico and the Man, so that's only for people that are like over 35 or 40. So,
Great show.
Huh?
Great show.
It was. Today we're going to talk about TiVo and whether or not it's time for them to hang up their remote control and DVR, or maybe sell it to somebody. I don't know. Netflix and them getting some new subscribers. A really cool TV from that's cost $3,000 that I think is cool. And Skype, because we like Skype. We love Skype. We use Skype on a daily basis here. But first, we're going to talk about Crestron, because we haven't talked about Crestron enough. In the
segue right into that
show. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing from my point of view as an end use, but it's not a bad thing. You guys are sunsetting, let's say, because we're talking about digital and analog stuff. You're sunsetting the Cash for Trash.
Yes.
Happening in June, I believe.
That's correct, June 30th.
So basically, and this is something you started, I want to say in August, is that right?
Approximately, yeah. We had worked out some informal version of the trade-in program, and then it went completely public. And unfortunately, all good things will come to an end. June 30th is the end of the Cash for Trash, or the digital trade-in program.
I like to bring out your dead, but that's just me.
I know, that was great, wasn't it?
You guys should have done something with that.
I wanted to circle the booth with a wheelbarrow full of old analog switchers,
beta decks,
yep,
VHSs,
all that cool stuff.
So yeah, I mean, it's not really something that I wanted to. I mean, I'm not going to slam you for it, because you gave people something for almost a year. Just more or less just say, hey, here's this thing that was happening, and it's not happening after Infocom.
Yeah, I was actually when we put the information up on the website, I was pretty shocked at the value that we were giving back for systems, because the first thing that went through my mind was, how am I going to feed my kids? Right? That's a little insane of the amount of money we were giving back on analog. But
you did, though. I mean, that was the thing.
We did, yeah.
And it also helped you guys. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about something. I want to say it was like the 50,000th DM installation.
Yes,
that helped. And I'm not saying one thing over another, but that helped you guys get to that 50,000th platform, because honestly, there was a lot of education places, because that's the world I live in, that was saying, yes, we get it, we understand, the world is going to digital, but it's expensive. So that gave them an incentive, and maybe somebody who wasn't necessarily considering upgrading this year, but maybe in 3 years, that gave them an incentive to say, okay, sure, we have some of the capital, and with this buyback program, we can now afford it.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. Well, the official ending is June 30th, but, always talk to your sales guys, of course. Well, I'm just saying.
I don't have a sales guy, so. I don't know if you know this, Rich, but my old sales guy was Kevin, so.
Oh, well, there's a reason why you've moved into education then instead.
Wow. Whew, jeez.
No, he's okay. I like Tim. He's a good comedic value.
Oh, jeez.
Right.
All right.
He's basically, the three-legged dog that you bring along to show, and everybody goes, "Oh, look, you brought Tim again."
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I help him sell a lot of systems. Say this is what not to do. You see this guy over there. All right, we're going to talk about. All right, I'm just going to say this, and you can yell at me. Guys can yell at me if you want. This is the worst HD product ever created. Actually, I say the world's most useless product, HD product, and I have nothing against Aurora, but that's who made it. It is an Aurora 3G to HDMI converter. And this is why it's the world's most useless HD product ever. It converts from, as it says, 3G SDI to HDMI, and then back from HDMI to 3G SDI. It supports audio de-embedding and a bunch of other stuff. The one thing that is conspicuously missing from this is HDCP, which is why I say it's the most useless HD product ever. Kevin, is there any place in the world for a product that does not support HDCP at this point in the game?
Well, you also got to remember its platform, what it's addressing. It's addressing a lot of the broadcaster pro audio video products. Your higher end Sonys and Panasonics, where the cameras and the HD cameras still use an SDI platform. This is a perfect box, actually. So I was going to debate you, because we actually Crestron makes what's called the DMCI, that you can put a DMC DVI card in, and it does the same thing, though it's multi-platform, right? You can convert SDI, HD SDI, or 3G SDI into HDMI. You're correct. It will not, because of it being an SDI platform, it will not support HDCP. However,
hello.
Hey, George.
Well, that was fun.
We continued without you.
I expected so.
It's like most parties that George goes to.
Nice. I am not Mary Tyler Moore.
Just think if George just came back from the bathroom. So we were talking about the conversion factor, though, Tim, is actually very, very beneficial. I've actually seen a number of systems where, that HD camera that they want to get in for distribution is an SDI interface, and you have somewhat of a difficulty to make that transition into HDMI if your infrastructure is HDMI. So, though you said it was the most useless product, I've seen many, many, many of them used.
Okay, so I've been thoroughly thumped. Rich, is this useful? I mean, you're mostly residential. And so I could be wrong. That you probably don't run into a lot of instances for.
The only thing that I can think of is somebody called them and said, we got a problem. And they went, well, I guess we'll make a box for it. I mean, typically that's how boxes like this wind up getting made. If you look at any of the other manufacturers who have, adapters or extenders or anything else. Have I ever had an application? I couldn't tell you if a device had 3G SDI on it, much less whether I'd need an interface box for it. I would have been the chimp with the stick, putting it in the anthill going, oh, look, 3G SDI, I mean, it was, it just does not hit my pay grade at all. But it's cool, I guess. If I ever found somebody who wanted to, put a broadcast camera in their home, I guess this would be one way to do it.
Yeah, George, if Michael Drainer was here, he would be up and down with me on this because he loves...
Did you just call him George Michael Drainer?
I did. I'm sorry. I do that all the time. I'm just going to refer to both of them as Wham in general.
Yes. Wham AV. Wham AV.
Michael loves 3G SDI. He comes from a broadcast background. He loves SDI. Loves it. Much more than HDMI. And you live in a world where both of them have to coexist. So I guess for you and your stuff, I get that. But still, it doesn't support in any way, shape, or form HDCP. And then that's why I say that it's useless. I understand what Kevin's saying, but is this, is this something that is at least somewhat useful to you, even though it doesn't support content production?
Yeah, but if I may, just for a second, Tim, you got to remember
you
what are the devices
Kevin. You sound like Kevin all of a sudden.
Stop it. You got to remember what are the devices that have this output? They're cameras. What do you need content protection on a camera?
No. But you also have beta decks that have SDI. You have all sorts of other content playback devices that have SDI. Yes.
Again, that beta deck is designed to be the recording station or part of it.
All right.
It's a good widget for what it's doing.
Okay.
Like I said, they're not the only ones that make it, right? There's many of them out there, even ours.
Don't make me pull this car over, you two.
Anyways, George, your thoughts?
So the answer is yes. Divide by pi. What?
I agree with Sirius.
Exactly. No, I
concur.
I concur. There is something to be said for this
how do you spell
box,
concur? I'm playing Words with Friends. How do you...
Words with Friends is biased.
Oh, it is. Go ahead, George. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Fine. I'm your Rubbermaid baby. I can take it all, huh? There is a purpose for this in what we do. It is with the cameras. It is with some content that doesn't have protection. And we use something similar from other companies quite often. So it is out there. Broadcast does not just mean the studio. It means broadcast quality remote type trucks that aren't really sending the stuff off air. It's a production truck, and it doesn't need that stuff, and they don't even involve it. That's all in the processing on the final end when they put out a disc or a product to be acquired. So we use it live, that kind of conversion all the time.
Well, I guess in the end, wouldn't it be a matter of if it's an affordable converter as opposed to, they announce this and they say, for, $7 gajillion or something,
Exactly. Exactly. It's a nice little box for a nice price that does the job that we still need to do right now.
Hey, that's a nice segue into our next topic. Because Gary Kay and I do a daily show, and he brought this product up the other day. It's from Christie. And it allows you to, as an integrator, to get your foot in the door into movie houses, into exhibition houses. And for that, I think it's cool because it allows you to start a conversation with these guys that probably, for most of the time, you don't have anything really to offer them because, let's face it, the projectors they're buying and the screens they're buying are really, really high, and you're talking several $100,000. And the device is called an SKA-3D, and it allows you to interface. It takes, composite, it takes DVI, VGA, and allows you to convert it in such a way that it can be shown on these big screens at movie theaters. You can interface with a professional level movie theater projector. But it's $10,000. that to me is expensive. It's an expensive widget. But George, one thing I thought of was I immediately thought of you and World Stage and the live stuff you guys do. Is this just kind of like the Aurora thing? Just it's a widget and it serves a purpose, or does it really give these guys, integrators like Rich or other integrators a foot in the door to a market that they really haven't had an opportunity to get into yet?
Well, I think it's both. I mean, there is, I think, some opportunity for the integrators. I mean, look, how much is a Kaleidoscape box? I mean, how much is some of those really high-end, digital processors that we install? They're not far off from that stuff, right? And what it does is pretty darn cool. Although I have to say, when Gary's saying, did I read the number right on that article? 1,400 or 14,000, does it say?
14,000 movie theaters.
Still, that's a very, very limited market.
It's a niche.
If they sell 14,000 of them, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's your normal? Kevin, you can answer this. What's your normal ratio of? There's a market of 1 million people. We made this product. How many do we expect to sell it to?
I like 50%.
So there's 7,000.
No. I like 50% of 1 million people, not 50% of 14,000.
Right, but we're talking 14,000. You
got to have all of them and then sell them to their friends who don't really need them at that
140,000.
Okay,
maybe.
so wait a minute for a second. I understand where you're going now with this, but a lot of movie theaters nowadays, I'm not sure what percentage of the 14,000 this is, are more than one screen. You're going to sell, if you get in the door and if you sell this, you're going to sell more than one of them, aren't you?
It's a fair point. I could also see it being put in really high-end home theaters, although I think those are fewer than we think. So I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, that was a cameo.
That was an idea.
George, you working high steel today?
Yeah, basically.
Hot rivets.
Yeah, exactly. You might hear more of that. It's just I'm trying to mute it in between them doing their stuff.
It's all right, man.
But yes, I think it's a neat little product, although I got to tell you, beyond a year or two of selling it, I don't know where it's going. It's just a nice little hot product, though.
Hot product. Sorry, it reminds me of, who is that? Jim Gaffigan in Hot Pockets.
Jim Gaffigan, yeah.
So, all right, Mr. Fregosa, he mentioned high-end theaters. That makes me think of you.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I thought of when I saw it, is that, is an integrator, going to go out and start, banging on the door of the multiplex and saying, "Excuse me, Mr. Multiplex, sir, I'd like to sell you a product." I mean, it's just like, you bring out the briefcase. It's like, let me show you something. It's,
Throw some dirt on the floor, vacuum it up.
Yeah, exactly. It slices, it dices, it does 3D. The way that I look at it is that, could there be a market? I mean, it's a niche product. I mean, it's the niche of the niche products that are out there. Are there many residences that have Christie, Titans put in? Yeah, there are some. Would a pitch be, look, do you truly want a cinema experience? Yeah. Okay, well, if you want 25 feet, 30-foot screen, and you actually have your secret decoder box that we've got everything coming down the line, and as a separate input, you've got your Kaleidoscape or your home videos or whatever it is, as a conversion box, fed from a switcher or something. Yeah, I mean, do I, would I personally see selling, a couple of dozen of these? No. I mean, I could see personally maybe one or two a year, if that. It's just. Again, it's a neat product. I'm sure it fills a niche. Again, at some point, somebody said, "Hey, why don't we try this?" They made a product and said, "We'll see how it goes." At that point, it almost makes sense that the only thing that I can think of when I see this is that somewhere down the line in the product line, they're going to wind up turning this into a card that will just slide into their projectors themselves.
That's a nice thought. I didn't even think of that. That I could see happening.
See, if this is basically, the first run, where they work out the kinks and they do an outboard box and, they just, I mean, this winds up being their prototype as the entry. And then 3 or 4 years down the line, they appear at, now all of a sudden you could basically sell an engine and then go card based case with Christie to say, you want HDMI? You want cinema? Here you go. That's where I see it going. If I were, managing the product, I would view this as just kind of the first salvo in finding a way to get it down to the board level.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Richard, they did that with Sony and the SXRD, their first run, where that big Canon,
Yeah.
also designed for digital cinema, and that had board placement as to what type of interface you wanted. I don't know what they've done with it since then, but yeah, it was a very slick idea to give you a lot of compatibilities to the other formats.
Yeah, but again, it's at that point, you just said it. You said the four letters SONY, Sony. I mean, it's like they sell them these days anyway. It's like they might as well put a PlayStation on the back of that projector as well as a way to get rid of them.
That would have been cool.
I just see as in terms of the model of what Christie's doing, because we're doing more and more Christie in residential applications, because so much of that technology is now starting to filter and trickle down. Like I said, just during the course of the conversation, I mean, if it was a card that we could drop into a Titan or, a CP, 2200 or something, and we go, yeah, 21,000 lumens, and you can have anything that you want inside this thing.
Yeah.
And you connect your iPad to it.
Oh, what's iPad
Hey,
control?
don't tempt me.
Jesus Christ.
I have Justin Bieber on my iPad. Don't make me use it. Sorry.
So.
Unfortunately, we can't disconnect him, can't we?
Yeah, I know. We can't hang up.
It would just be me talking to myself for an hour, so nobody wants to listen to that, not even my wife. All right. You're listening to AV Week. Thank you for listening still. With Kevin Iselli, George Tucker, and Rich Fregosa, my torturers and tempters. So, all right, from CNET, why women prefer online meetings. As a caveat, there are no women on this call. And a woman did not write this article. So why are we talking about this? This seems awfully dangerous to me, guys. It's from a gentleman by the name of Chris. Yeah, Chris. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. Matizhik? Anybody? Nobody?
No, got nothing.
Okay. Right.
No,
Hang on.
You're actually seeing a nice increase in your online or your, let's say, video conferencing solutions, as it seems a little bit more efficient. So when I read the article, there was a lot of truth to it. You get a little bit more efficiency. You don't have groups from across the continent trying to get together in a conference room, and you want a good 4-hour meeting, and it ends up being actually only 20 minutes because it's very unproductive of everybody sitting down doing their 2-3 things at a time. So I see this as the, if you will, from a woman's perspective, they don't need time to go to the bar, or they're not interested to do that. They just want to get the job done. So yeah, I get it. I've been involved in those meetings before.
Well, the one thing I found interesting was the most thing that they responded on was the fact that online meetings were less nerve-wracking, saying that they were less distracted and things of that nature. That was the one thing that, and you're right. It's you get down to it, and then everybody gets disconnects and goes on their way. So,
well, I think this also has something to do with that. Larger numbers of women are entering the workforce. In fact, they're starting to overtake men in getting jobs in this recovery that's hopefully supposedly happening. And a large majority of those women are mothers who don't want to waste their time traveling from meeting room to meeting room. And if you can do it from your desk or do it from your home office, and you can simply do that and move on and not have to worry about all of this machinations and scheduling, it does work out. I know that when I did a short stint as a stay-at-home dad, and when I was doing some of that, these meetings really did kind of work. I did everything on Skype, everything through teleconferencing, because it gave me the ability to slice my time up very definitively and then move on to the next thing without having to worry about the commute next, going this way or that way.
Yeah. And Rich, I know that you use video conferencing a lot because you're not in a different city every day, but sometimes you pop around and do, a stint for a couple of days in a different city. Is this, do you concur with this, saying, that it is a lot more productive and a lot more efficient with your time?
Yeah. I again, it's the high-speed bandwidth days, I mean, it's true. You jump on a plane, you fly out, you get your rental car, you go to a meeting for an hour or two or whatever it is for hands-on, and you flip around. And, from a productivity standpoint, and just the costs as well. The interesting thing, again, is that they're talking about the meeting, but, are they talking about collaborative within a group? Are you all still in the same building? Are you outside of the building? I mean, there wasn't enough detail, I thought, in this article. It just said women like this more than men. Well, okay, but in what context? Why? Yeah, in what context? That's what I felt was missing, is it was a really, really broad brush, which basically said, women like this more because men drink and go to bars and strip clubs and then go to meetings, is kind of what I took out of this article.
Well, that's
true.
That
was actually stated that way, kind of.
It was. It was very strange. Although all of us agreeing that teleconferencing is sort of very efficient, are we now saying that we're in touch with our feminine side?
Well, I'm a West Coast fellow, so I'm.
I think the fact that he used the word fella.
I don't even know. Well, I don't know if that's going to endear us to the Wave, our fellow Wave.
That's why I said the caveat. None of us are women. The article wasn't written by a woman. Why are we talking about it? Because it's just going to get us in trouble.
Yeah, I don't think. I'm glad that the discussion is there. I mean, I will say that at least it's a way of saying, look, there's. At least it's a discussion. I mean, again, obviously, especially in technology, we all know for a fact that we're trying to find ways to promote more women in the workplace. And if there's information that you can hand to part of the executive team who says, look, if you're going to handle meetings, let's find a way that's collaborative that works for everybody. And again, it all goes back down to finding what works. And this is also slightly a sales pitch from TeamViewer as well, saying we're what works.
Okay, so let's move this discussion further into some other articles. From The Verge, Microsoft they purchased Skype. We like Skype. We use Skype again. But they're developing it for the 360. I mean, is this whole Skype is everywhere and not anything against Lifesize or Cisco or anybody else, but this is the most ubiquitous, it's still free service that is, I mean, it is video conference. Oprah, lover or hater, she put Skype kind of on the map for all of these people who had probably never heard of it before. And so now Microsoft is putting it everywhere, including the 360. Well, I mean, I put on the show notes, Skype via Connect. I don't know if it's going to be able to be controlled via Connect, but it will at least be able to go through your 360. So now it's everywhere,
Again, it's like, but again, we're talking about the whole console, the video game console. Is that thing going to even be around in the next couple of years? I mean, it feels to me, it's like, yeah, we threw it on there. Why not? We've got video, we've got music, we've got, every other service. It's like, I had my 360 die last winter, and so I went out and got another one with Connect because I thought it'd be fun for the kids. Yeah, they play Connect. Do I use it as a home media center point, to do all of this stuff? No, I played with the apps. I downloaded them. I went, oh, well, I've already got a device that does that. Oh, I've already got a device that does that. Oh, I've already got a device of that. I mean, I've got an iPad and an iPhone and a MacBook that already have Skype on it.
Yeah.
To put it on my Xbox, I don't necessarily see it at that point because chances are a lot of these displays have them built in the first place. So it just seemed weird,
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, the Xbox thing with Kinect seems like a natural addition to me. Like, finally, we're going to have video calls in a home, like Disney promised us so long ago. And is not sort of the Kinect and the Xbox an entry-level device for that? I mean, look, a lot of people were saying that the PlayStations were your Blu-ray entry point, the Trojan horse to get Blu-ray into the home so that people would buy them and use them, and that might have happened. And in some respect, it still did. So is that not possible that Xbox and Kinect could do that for their Skype acquisition and say, now you can have your home, it's not home conferencing, it's home video phones and talk to grandma and grandpa. Maybe not for our grandparents' generation, but maybe for our kids talking to us, we'll be used to it. They're going to be naturally in this stream of product line.
I think where we're going to see the success of the death of this is how they wind up iterating it in their next version of their OS. I mean, that's really going to determine how much this goes away from their current roadmap. I mean, if they can find a way to get it into their phones, if that ever gets traction, and they can find a way to streamline the process. Again, FaceTime. it's a small segment, but that thing is brain dead simple to use.
It is, and not that Skype is hard to use. I mean, I have you guys' Skype IDs. I hit call, it calls you. Same thing with FaceTime. It's not brain surgery by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't know.
Yeah, but we actually, I can't, of course, tell the client, but we're seeing a lot of Xboxes being deployed into systems now as source devices, as a means of getting content. So putting Skype on it, absolutely, I can see that definitely as a benefit.
Okay, so let me ask this: I have an Apple TV and I've got an Xbox 360. I like the Apple TV. It has a lot of neat apps and stuff like that. But the more I dig into the 360, the more I really like it, and the more I use it as my primary source of video and just content in general. Yes, it's what I play my games on. Yes, it's what the kids play their games on. But it's also got, the Major League Baseball. I don't remember what the service is called, but where you can watch games live and watch replays and highlights and stuff like that. It has Netflix. It has a whole bunch of other video. I think it has Hulu Plus on it. It has all these other internet-based things that every other device in the world has. But I also play my games on it too. So it kind of it's the convergence of a Roku and a Apple TV, and I can play games on it too. So why do I need to change the input on my TV? Does that make sense?
But
sure,
what
Tim.
if it's already on the TV? Again, is that everybody's doing these bundled apps on the displays now? And again, and let's not, again, the rumor mill being the rumor mill, you got to figure that Microsoft is looking and going, okay, what if Apple sells that, if they really do sell that TV, a lot of these moves, you kind of see the way that they're putting out these press releases is saying, okay, there's an 800-pound gorilla in the room that we're not going to talk about just yet, but we got to keep pushing this stuff out here just in case.
That makes sense. Yeah, and that's true. That's true. They're trying to head that off before the gorilla gets to the room. So, yeah. Something I saw at InfoComm last year and talked with a lot of education guys about, and that's Blue Jeans, and not the pair I'm wearing, but it's a company that allows you to integrate disparate versions of video conferencing. And I guess this is the video conferencing show because it takes Skype and Google and Cisco and Polycom and lets you kind of do them all together, sort of. It's a little expensive to me. It's $300 a month per instance, but still, as education guys and actually as corporations and stuff like that, you have. Let's say you have a Cisco system, or you have a Polycom system in the boardroom, or you have a Polycom system in the classroom. But you have this guy who is, a researcher in the jungle somewhere, or in down on the ocean somewhere, and he doesn't have a Polycom system, probably because of cost or because of infrastructure or whatever. He has an iPad with FaceTime, or he has a laptop with Skype. How do you get him integrated into your system? Well, usually you would do some sort of, you have a dedicated PC or you have a dedicated Mac and stuff like this. These guys kind of throw it all together and say, here you go. All of these guys can talk to each other. So now we could do Skype and bring somebody in who has a Cisco video conferencing system with using this third party. George, is this something that is needed, do you think? Or do you think eventually this company may get pushed out because these companies are going to do it themselves because they see the fact that they need to play nice together?
Well, I definitely think that they're looking to be bought. That's what it sounds like from some of the videos I watched and how the guy was talking. You start to get the feel for people, who are saying, this is a great product and here's our revolutionary idea, and behind it is, buy me, make an offer. Because I think it is a pretty cool tool for what they're asking to do. Although I'm not sure. Yeah, $300, per instance per month. I think you said.
Yeah.
Yikes. I mean, that's for corporations only. But I could see that as something like, hey, download this and we'll do your tech support for you. Show me what you're doing. I mean, that could be kind of a cool version of it, right?
Yeah. Connect
to any conferencing system so that the tech can look at your high-profile thing over in whatever remote location it is, and be able to work with you. Yeah, but to you, it wasn't. The first Blue Jean thought I had was David Bowie. That's going back, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you three just grew your hair back, Kevin.
Nice.
Kevin, is this? You used to deal with a lot of education. You still bounce around and meet people from time to time. Is this something you can see happening in the education or the corporate world, or like George said, are these guys just kind of waiting to get gobbled up by somebody and having they're really cool software kind of integrated?
Well, conceptually, again, it's kind of a sound idea, but you are, let's say, infringing on the mentality of what we like to call plug and pray, right? You're asking everybody to come into the same sandbox and play nicely. That's going to be challenged and problematic in its core. And I got the same feeling that George did. It was like, hey, check out the shiny new car. Want to buy it? Want to buy it? Want to buy it? Give you a good deal, right?
Yeah, and as for the
I got that
standards,
same.
dude, come on, they can't even do it on HDMI with the TV control, the CEC.
Yeah, well,
CEC,
and Tim can finish this sentence for me. The best thing about a standard is
there's so many to choose from.
Exactly, right? So, again, it was very conceptually sound. I do like the concept, because how many times do you want to, getting your video conference bridge is set up so that it can do the same thing is very costly, of course, and even those have very limited support from, let's say, the Life Size to Polycom to Tamberg, and try to get all three of those platforms and Skype all in and working is a headache, and at its best. So can it be cloud-based? Sure. I love the monthly charge. I mean, because only in 3 years you're gonna, I don't know, start over?
I guess.
I wasn't sure about the whole cost savings based on 3 years of ownership.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how that all worked out either.
Yeah.
So,
and again,
rated on a bell
$300
curve.
a port.
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing about it, too, is that, I mean, they keep talking about, the liberal use of the word cloud. They're really not. They're just remoting the the servers at that point. And again, all it takes is for the first time for their servers to crash. Again, the concept, it's a great idea in theory. But, you have to think about the backplane and what are they using for it. And that's a whole lot of faith you're putting in a company. At that point. And like you guys were talking about before, it's like, what's the tech support like? What happens when you get that first hiccup? Who's the one who's servicing it? And at $300 a pop, I want a guy running out there saying, here, sir, click this button for me. It almost reminded me a little bit of the kind of the original security sales. It's like, here you go, here's the license. Don't pay for anything. And you just keep churning them out. But how many licenses do they need to sell per pop in order to kind of fund exactly what they're talking about? It's like you guys were saying. It's like, hey, we'll get there eventually. Can you buy 6 more licenses so we can buy another server?
that would be great. Thanks.
That would be awesome.
I kind of have the same feeling there.
Sniffing.
Yeah.
Venture capital sniffing.
Do you remember Trillion, the universal IM application?
Still use them, yeah.
Yeah, still use them. It sounds a little bit to me like a version of that Trillion. Now, when Trillion goes away, and I can't talk IM, it's not terrible. But if a video conference goes down, it's a lot more impactful.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still just doe-eyed enough to believe that everybody can play nice together eventually. So.
Yeah, you keep believing that, Sap.
All right.
I got a bridge you can buy.
Is it the Brooklyn or the Queens? Because I already own the Queens.
2 for 1 deal.
All right.
We can get you to Australia, back to Germany with one bridge.
Jeez. It was 7 years ago today. I'm not going to sing. YouTube is 7 years old. Yay! one thing about this, and actually we did a story last week where a bunch of movie studios are releasing a bunch of their movies on YouTube and other places and stuff like that. We've talked an awful lot about online video on this show, and we're kind of going to cover a couple different ones here. But George, this is one of the most disruptive, I think, not revolutions, but one of the most disruptive companies, the most disruptive websites from the internet, because it allowed us as consumers to say, okay, hey, here's something I don't have to pay for. I can consume, cats or, guys getting hit in the head or other sorts of funny videos. And now they have all their different channels. My favorite one right now is Geek and Sundry, because I'm a geek. But it is just disruptive. How important is the fact that they've made it 7 years? Yes, they got bought by Google, but they still have lasted through all of the legal battles and everything.
Well, I think it's huge. One, because they got through the legal battles in a way that was not so disruptive. How did they settle it? Well, most of them were settled by saying, hey, if we recognize your content and you say to take it down, we will. But most of them say, hey, we recognize your content. Put a link to where the people can buy it now. So me as a video person, I don't get any money for it, but they all share in the revenue. That's a brilliant idea. I still feel like I got away with something. They get to make some money.
I got away with something.
Well, come on, no.
Well, I know, and I know, and Rich, you have to have put in more than one system where you've got the ability to bring up, whether it's TV with a built-in YouTube app or it is a dedicated PC that says, you know what, this is the our content PC, I guess, or our content Mac, so people can do stuff like watch YouTube videos.
I think we lost him.
We lost Rich? Son of a gun, we lost Rich. Well, that's the government for you.
The name of the show is going to be Technical Difficulties.
Agreed. Well, but think about it. This YouTube is as large as it is because everyone's trying for their 15 minutes, right? And now, look at how things can go viral so quickly on YouTube. Rebecca Black. Anyways,
jeez.
But hey, it's Friday, right?
Don't you dare do it.
Okay, Bieber. So you do have this medium, and I agree with you. It's probably one of the most disruptive forces out there. I don't know what you meant by the whole consuming cats thing. I'll just ignore
the LOL cats.
Sure, whatever. So you do have this outlet that allows anybody to post anything about anything, and I think George is right. I mean, now that you have, hey, if this is your video, put a link and make a penny. So it's now a revenue generating machine too, which is why it's still up there. I mean,
well, but it also opened up things for like Ustream and Stickcam, and for people to become really familiar with and take advantage of, like, say, Twit, the Leo Laporte's channel that doesn't thrive off of YouTube, but it's an adjunct to it. They store stuff there. You can go back and review it. It's given birth to what people want to wear. So I want my channel to be able to produce my content. And yet maybe I'm not NBC or even HBO, but dang it, I can do some pretty interesting stuff. And just like the 1,000 true fans theory, if I get enough fans who want to pay for my content and I'm putting out quality stuff and I have this almost free platform to do it on, this is brilliant because it just generates revenue for the company and revenue for me. Everybody wins.
Do you guys?
We got epic mealtime.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the show? Okay, so you remember the Truman Show, the movie The Truman Show with Jim Carrey. Around that time was something, and I want to say it was called Ed TV.
Yes.
And it had the same basic concept. You were following someone around. It was a day in the life of X.
Wasn't it like Matthew McConaughey or something?
Mm-hmm. It was before he had his really nice abs. It was.
Wow.
He has nice abs.
First he's consuming cats. Now it's.
All right, you know what? It was. I don't know. It seems to me like almost like art imitating life or life imitating art, because that was before the reality shows and that was before YouTube and everything. And it's like we've almost evolved into that. It's like, all these YouTube guys and everybody have come along and said, okay, that was a really cool idea. Let's kind of make that happen. So that was Friday.
Wow.
What was that?
Sorry. It was.
Are we on the? It's
Really?
It's like
You
really.
said it.
It's like Tim, George, and Kevin and the Morning Zoo. It's the party animals.
It's the Technical Difficulties show.
I'm withdrawing my participation on this show right
I
now.
know. What happened? This
Oh,
is hell-bent highway out. I'm telling you.
I have a
Ay,
feeling
ay.
we're going to get a lot of bad press on this one.
You assume that we get any press on these.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
All
Well,
right.
for the four people that actually
here's the
listen
thing
to us.
I was
ahead.
curious about, though. Has anyone ever heard of the movie We Live in Public?
Only from you.
It was okay. Well, it was about one of the internet pioneers, Josh Harris, which they did early webcam, early what you were talking about TV version of where these people lived in an apartment building they purchased, and every single corner of the place was open
Hey,
to the cameras.
I think I saw that late on Cinemax one night.
Yeah, it's what helped give birth to, say, Anna Cam and Jenny Cam, if anyone remembers back then, late and early 90s. But those things really showed that there was a market for this kind of stuff. There's dangers inherent in it, but it still is there. We want it. We're going to buy it. And YouTube just took advantage of that idea. And now they're growing into live streaming and real channels. So again, I reiterate, it's going to be something that's of value, and it still will be there 10 years from here.
Well, I mean, they triggered, using a pretty well overused word, but they triggered a paradigm shift. They were the first ones who showed that it could be viable because, again, with broadband and all of a sudden you can post anything you want up there of your kids growing up or your family or, the licensed channel and everything else, it became part of the common lexicon. I mean, you can pretty much ask anybody, who has access to any technology what YouTube is, and they can pretty much tell you.
Yeah.
Granted, all they watch is, much like Tim, laughing cats videos, but they know what it is.
I watch Geek and Sundry. That's what.
Well, you know what though? My kids watch the Lego, the stop motion Lego stuff that people put up, and they want to do it themselves now. So they've got a camera and they're trying to make their own stop motion. I mean, so again, that advantage of these kids are now, this is natural for them to create their own content.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the new generation version of being forced to sit through the travel log of people showing their 30 hours of their trip to the Grand Canyon. Where they sit you down, they pulled out the old, the old 8mm projector. All right, here's our travel log. Here we go. And I confess that, my wife puts up pretty much every waking moment of my child that she thinks something's cute up there, and it does provide a way to get information, quickly out to a group of, people or don't know. And it goes from there. I mean, if you think about it, when they talk about things going viral, I mean, even just that phrase came from, people watching that. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Another streaming video source is Netflix. And guess what? They're not dead. Yay! And they're feeling better. Last quarter, they got 3 million. No, I'm just going to keep going. They got 3 million new streaming subscribers. But this time last year, a bunch of us were talking about how they might be dead because of the whole Quickster thing and everything. Kevin, is this giving them new life, or is this kind of delaying the inevitable? They're going to die and they're going to go away.
I would say it gives them a little bit of new life. I mean, more subscribers mean that you can always do more on the back end, get more content, get better servers, get let's say refocus, reinvest into your product. As a Netflix subscriber and user, I think the service is great. I've been exposed lately to like Vudu and some of the other ones, and everyone's got their attempt at it. I think as I was an early adopter of Netflix, I think one of the headaches was if only they would have content from this century. So I think as their library is growing, it makes things a little bit more user friendly, a little bit more desirable. Yeah. I think we'll always have some form of, or I think the push is to go away from physical media, right? So streaming services or downloadable services, or even just, let's say, world search services, hint, hint, is always going to be in the future and a way to go. Because, again, goes back to the conversation even the four of us have had before. I want my content. I want it now.
Yeah.
Right. And there you go. What better way to have convenience of just logging in and getting it?
What is this world search you speak of?
I'm not sure, but I think it's trademarked to a company.
It's your company, just in case.
Oh, no. Okay. All right. I'll check it out.
All right. You should ask somebody for a memo. Okay. Rich, is this a good thing for Netflix? I mean, obviously, it's a good thing for Netflix, but it's a good thing for subscribers and guys like Kevin who have been subscribers for a long time. They're not going to go anyway.
I'm one of the earliest adopters as well of Netflix, and just last month I finally killed my physical media subscription, and I'm sticking with the streaming version for now. But again, like you said, it's like I'd really like to watch something post 1990 on the streaming. I mean, it's great for my kids' shows and stuff like that. But I mean, every time I pull up the search field of something that I'd like to watch, it's not available. And where I'm seeing is that, Netflix, I mean, some of the conversations they have in interviews now is that they keep hinting that they want to try to become almost the equivalent of their own network, or
they started a couple different
cable
shows.
provider.
Yeah, they started a couple shows themselves, like Netflix only shows.
Right. But at that point, are they positioning themselves to more, pay as you eat kind of subscription-based services? I mean, we're starting to see, hopefully, more of that. I mean, what was one of the articles a couple of weeks ago? They were saying that shortly you're going to be looking at $200 a month bills for any of your TV services coming through, and up. And I know that I'm finding myself that I'm consuming media in a different way. One of the things that I didn't think would happen, but it really is happening, is with this new Apple TV. I'm finding that I'm, renting or consuming and downgrading my other services, because now I can actually share my services across my media. And instead of waiting for a connection, wherever I am, I can actually choose to either stream it or maintain it locally as well. So it's not quite physical media, but, it's kind of bridging that gap between the two. And I just feel like Netflix is just in the middle of this identity crisis. I mean, they obviously want to get away from physical media, but they just constantly shoot themselves in the foot every time they do it.
Yeah, that is true.
Well, we have a saying about shooting yourself in the foot. It's not a bad thing, because either you're going to run out of toes or you're going to run out of bullets.
Jeez.
And then you consume cats.
Wow. George Reed Hastings a few years ago said that they would be out of the physical media business by 2020. Now, I don't know if he jumped the gun on the Quickster thing or not, but is, like Rich said, they're going to be out, but are they still going to have, Johnny Mnemonic on, and that be the most recent movie they have on Netflix?
As long as they have Buckaroo Banzai, I'm fine. Okay.
Oh, awesome!
Wow.
There you go. See, I'm a happy man when that happens.
Across
Weird
the
science.
fifth dimension.
No, but
Yeah, between that and all of the seasons of Quantum Leap, put those two together. And
They have the most recent. They have the most recent Doctor Who's. I'm happy. So, but go ahead.
I actually just caught a Jennifer Aniston Quantum Leap. I happened to be home and it was on. And I'm like, wow, look at that. That's
Really?
Jennifer Aniston back way when.
Wow.
Yes, she was in one about some Vietnam War one, whatever.
But where there's this wacky mix-up and they have to fix.
Scott Bakula actually is from St. Louis.
Don't ask me to know the theme. I don't remember the plot. But you know what though? I like Netflix. I sort of against it, but I don't think he's jumping the gun about 2020, because that's a good enough time for this to shake out. Because we'll get disgusted by all the the DVD CA kind of people and all this other kind of stuff that will want it streaming, and then we're going to get upset with the cable company saying, stop charging me an arm and a leg for terrible TV. If I want to watch terrible TV, I want to pay a terrible price, meaning cheap. So, I'm going to watch what I'm going to watch. There's going to be enough free stuff that I'll turn to that, and people like Netflix and YouTube will start generating their own content, and we'll start migrating towards that unless the cable companies and broadcasters smarten up and say yes, and they kind of are with Hulu and the rest. Right? I mean, look, I didn't really use Netflix that often, and we got a Wii, and it came with a free trial for Netflix streaming, and my kids love it, and we're hooked.
Yeah.
So, and we watch less and less. I was going to have a cable box up there in the playroom, and they don't have a playroom. They have Netflix streaming.
Yeah. You mentioned something, and the fact that YouTube and stuff like that is all, that's what people are going to be watching. This goes into our next story, but it's kind of a weird little pet peeve that I've developed in the short time I've had my iPad. There's the study says, and it's from Engadget, says that the actual tablets are the second most popular thing to watch TV on. I agree with that. It's a really handy thing to have, and when your wife wants to watch whatever it is, cooking shows or soap operas or what have you, you can sit over and watch Buckaroo Banzai. But here's a weird little pet peeve, and you guys can correct me on this. My iPad is not a freaking mobile device. So YouTube, be quiet, and Hulu, give me a break. It's not a freaking cell phone, is it? Because I keep getting these little sayings that says this video is not approved to be viewed on a mobile device. So you have to go to your laptop and crank it up and go to YouTube and look at it there.
But most of them are, because there's some of them are connected on 3G or 4G now, supposedly. But
it's not a cell phone.
George, he bought the cheap one.
But it's still not a cell phone. I don't know. I could be wrong. It might be a cell phone.
Well, the one thing to consider too is, well, I mean, think about it, is that, part of what we're talking about is the sales and the streaming in Northern America. The big thing that they're looking at is, I kind of read between the lines of saying, hey, look, there's about 6 other continents that people aren't sick of us yet on. So we're going to try selling it to them.
Yeah, and our buddy, poor Matt Scott, is cursing all of us because he can't get any of it on anything. He's in Canada. Sorry.
He's in Canada. Again, that was too easy. That's like saying, he's probably the guy who'll show up for the Extron party at Infocom.
Oh, jeez.
I had to get one in. You got one in last week.
I didn't mean to. It's almost been an hour, and we haven't given Extron a hard time about not going to Infocom for some weird reason, even though they went to NAB. George, are the tablets mobile devices? Should YouTube and Hulu be saying, hey, you can't do this, or should they, give me a break and let me watch it on my iPad?
I really wish there was a way for it to flag whether or not the device had mobile capable technology and then make the decision. I know that doesn't seem like a lot of. There is, but it's a little more complicated. And
okay, hang on for a second. No,
it's all about copyright protection.
I get that, but hang on for a second. You are involved in with our buddy Michael about tracking how many people download this wonderful piece of stuff that we do on a weekly basis, right?
Yes.
And there are some metrics that we can look at. We can look at what person, what kind of device they downloaded our shows on, right?
Pretty much, yes.
So if we can do it, as simple-minded as...
But we can't tell if it's a iPad 3 with 3G. I don't think it reports that. It just tells you the operating system.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
So it's an iPad.
Yeah, and because the iPad really has iOS and not...
You got worked up for that.
Stop that.
I got worked up because just like the article says, the tablet has become the second most popular thing to watch TV on. That being the case, I would expect YouTube and Hulu and these other places to loosen some of the reins on devices that are tablets and not cell phones because it's I don't know. It's easier.
There should be a way. It should be a way to say this technology or this chip is in the circuit board. It is engaged. XYZ. Okay, don't do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, mobile devices are going to become more and more at least 50% of the de facto viewability. I mean, this is where I always love Phil Swan, who we hope to have on sometime soon from TV Predictions.
Eventually,
always
we
makes
will.
The what?
I said eventually we will.
Yes, makes the announcement all the time that he swears nobody wants to watch a content on a small monitor. He doesn't get it, and I always say this invokes my Swanee inverse square rule, and that every time he says it, double the number of people want to do it. So we've got to come to a certain point where they have to let go of this and say, people are watching it. Do you want your content and advertising watched or not? Let it go.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm done with my first world problem. So, this week TiVo premiered the Elite DVR. It is now the Premiere XL4. Yeah. Kevin, I like TiVo. I do. I liked it 10 years ago when it first came out. It was a really great idea. I think it's time for them to go home now, though. They're getting their lunch eaten by a bunch of different players. So is it time maybe for, maybe a control manufacturer who has a DM system should buy them and integrate them into their DM products?
Look, we got enough problems, all right? That's
a great idea.
No, I am contemplating actually getting this version of TiVo.
Seriously?
Only because,
why?
Yeah, absolutely. Because let's just say cable provider X with set-top box provider B still live in the 60s and can't. It's horrible. I would like something that I have more control over and I have a better user experience, and this TiVo is definitely looking the direction that I want to at least investigate.
Okay.
Do I think they should go away? No, because as long as there is a way of making this thing better, more intelligent, easier to use interface, more comfortable interface, and still have it use that cable provider or satellite provider's signals, then I'm all for it.
Okay. Mr. Fregosa, you are our residential guy. Wow, that was weird. Our residential guy. And I'm not saying that I want TiVo to go away. I'm just saying that
that's what I heard.
They need to be incorporated into somebody who, I don't know, can do decent business and get them more exposure in the market, I guess. Because from my point of view,
they originally had that shot. I mean, DirecTV bought Replay TV, which was, the fellow who developed Roku. And that was his company when he started out. And TiVo, what may help, because they're aggressively marketing in the Bay Area right now, because San Francisco is one of the first test markets that the TiVo is going to work with Comcast On Demand. That's what they're pushing right now. In terms of an interface device, I mean, again, it's if they're showing at CEDIA now, their boxes, and we've gone to a couple of road shows where they're trying to market it into the custom channel. And then they're based here out in Silicon Valley as well, in Sunnyvale, I think. It just seems like it's been a neat product. I had it, I had Replay, loved Replay until it was gone. Then I had to switch to TiVo. Loved TiVo enough, but then when DirecTV kind of brought the iteration of Replay back that I liked, I went back to it again. It's storage at this point. And if they can find a way to do a better job of cable than cable does, and again, it means, all of the technical issues that come with it for an affordable price, they might have some inroads. I know that a lot of the integrators that I talk to who are in kind of cable-only areas, metropolitan areas, like, they're in Manhattan, love the box, because of the control interface. And they are integrator-friendly in that respect, and that it will talk back to you, and, you can control it a variety of ways, as opposed to, again, the usual auto-magically version of, the Motorola cable boxes or whatever they happen to be. Again, it just seems like it's becoming another niche product. And if it's going to remain a niche product, hopefully they can sell enough of them to stay viable. I think in terms of their intellectual property being something valuable to another company, I think that ship sailed years ago.
Really?
At this point. I do. I just, again, because what are they going to use it for? Everybody's got their own guide. All of the cable companies now, what they're saying is, we've got our iPad version of the guide, your on-screen version of the guide, or you can go onto your account on the webpage and record a show. what exactly do you need TiVo for now?
That's valid.
If your television is your single point of contact for your shows, which was the prior model, okay, but how many people are doing that? If you have a TiVo app for the iPad where it was in conjunction and streaming, for Android or something, okay, maybe that's where they can go ahead and have some form of smarter logic to manage the unit and record multiple shows. But at that point, you're spending anywhere from a couple $300 to what I think the top one's like $499, $599, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And then you're
in addition to say you do want the good stuff on cable, you're at $100+ a month in terms of your services. People will look at that and go, do I really need that box? So I don't know. It's a cute box. I know that I like it, but if there was a way for it to integrate into other services in addition to the cable providers, I'd probably be more excited about it. But Gene, kind of this antiquated box where prior, you had to have it connected to another third box, and it would change the channels for you, and you hoped that it would record. We'll see. I mean, the fact that they're kind of hitching their horse to the cable companies always makes me nervous.
That makes me nervous too, just because. And I've always liked TiVo. I had a DirecTV version of TiVo for a long time until they went back to the replay. So
I just want to throat punch their little icon. That thing's way too happy for me.
Jeez. I like the little icon. He's fun. He's happy.
Yeah, he's way too happy for you.
All right.
It's like
Go ahead.
That's all. I'm finished.
We have a couple more. This one is exclusively just for Mr. Tucker. Are you there?
Yeah, I got to go right after this, though.
Okay. Bang & Olufsen's affordable V1 HD TV.
Bang & Olufsen?
$3,170.
Pocket change.
Get in line, brother. It's got weighted knobs.
What, no 3D?
I'm sure it has 3D. It probably has 4D. It's probably the first, 4K 60-inch TV for $3,000.
Here's
it's
my
32
takeaway
inches. Read the article.
I'm sorry, 32 inches. And a 40-inch version.
Here's my takeaway from it. The photograph in the article shows it sort of on an alley on the street. Mm-hmm. That's where it'll wind up in about 2 years.
Wow.
I love some Bang & Olufsen stuff, but I've never had any really good experience with it ever. And that was my first impression when I saw it out in the street. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much where you'll start seeing them.
Okay. I always loved that standing 6-disc spinning discs of death CD changer where you never quite knew if they were going to come flying at all.
That is pretty cool, though. At least it was art.
Okay.
Art disguised as a CD player. Or DVD player. I'm sorry.
All right.
All right. He's George Tucker, and he's leaving us for a second.
All right, I got to go. Thank you, boys.
He's from
Thanks,
World
George.
Stage.
George.
We'll just go ahead and wrap up. He's from World Stage, the engineering coordinator. Check him out at worldstage.com. Mr. Rich Fregosa from FregosaDesign.com. FregosaDesign.com. You have anything here recently, sir, written for anybody? Want to pimp out your Twitter handle because I keep screwing it up?
The Twitter handle is at @Fregosa, RFREGOSA. And some news coming up later this summer, but I will say that I will be attending InfoComm as a resident guest blogger for Julie Jacobson's CE Pro, so I'm excited about that. So I will be attending I'll bring in my residential flavor to Vegas at InfoComm and seeing you band of malcontents along the way.
Arg. All right, and Mr. Kevin Iselli, he has a Twitter handle. It is one of the coolest ones in the world. He just doesn't use it. So he's from Crestron. Would you like to promote anything there, sir?
I don't know. Well, yeah, sure. Make sure you consume lots of bacon. I don't know.
Go Red Wings.
No, it's over for them as well as many others. No, consume. I would say if I would like to promote anything, is get involved with your industry, and remember that everything in the room is technology.
Everything in the building is technology.
Of course,
top to bottom. All right, Mr. Rich mentioned InfoComm. We will be there as well. Gary announced it today on our daily show. We'll be doing a ton of podcasts live from InfoComm. So come by, check us out. We'll have a little a table set up, a little card table, pencils to hand out, and a reel to record the podcast on. So.
And we will have George Tucker recreating scenes from Say Anything for a quarter.
So from Say Anything and any other tertiary movie that pops into his brain. So at any given time.
Which we may dress some of the gang up in Time Bandits outfits along the way.
That would be awesome.
How long have you been a robber?
Wow. All right. So thanks for stopping by. Check out the website, if you would please, ravepubs.com/AVNation. ravepubs.com/AVNation. My name's Tim Albright. If you want to follow me, it is TD, Tim David Albright, on Twitter. But more importantly, go to the website. Thank you so much for joining us. It's all the time we have for AV Week.